So, Ingrid, thank you so much for being a part of our community of practice page here on YouTube. On behalf of SETSI, we thank you so much for your leadership today.
Thank you kindly for having me, and thank you for your
Awesome.
kind words.
So, we always begin by acknowledging the original stewards of the various lands that we are on. We also acknowledge our ancestors. We acknowledge all those who toiled without compassion or compensation. We acknowledge all the elders and community stalwarts whose shoulders we stand on as we build, share, learn together for our collective liberation and sovereignty. So, if you can please do us the honors by introducing yourself to our listeners and viewers and tell us about your amazing work.
Well, thank you for the acknowledgement. I'd like to thank the honor. I would like to thank the ancestors for giving me their broad shoulders to stand on. So my name is Ingrid Windsor Joseph. My first language is French. I'm a passionate advocate and I'm an entrepreneur for neurodivergent communities and human rights, technology, and finances. I'm a mother of 3 children, including one child with autism, a service provider for with over 30 years experience as an arts educator. I'm a poet. My career began in Toronto, and at the time I was awarded a full badminton scholarship at Seneca College, touring Ontario as a badminton player. And at the time I took the poetry and hip hop scene by storm, known as Oni the Haitian Sensation, internationally acclaimed poet. I directed Canada's first slam poetry festival, worked on 4 continents. I was born in Montreal. So my work is deeply rooted in both lived and professional experience. So a lot of times people will talk about autism and say they're an expert. As a mother of a child of autism, I live with autism day in and day out. I have my OADA certificate. I have my certification as a service provider also from Autism Ontario. Additionally, I have a background in politics. I ran for Ottawa's municipal elections, so I understand policy. As an educator, trained by the faculties of education at York University, Harvard, internationally recognized poet. I was Nelson Mandela's only international artist in residence. I'm a leader. My best-selling book, Ghettostocracy, was a book of the year in the Globe and Mail. I'm an interactive multimedia specialist with a focus on AI. So I founded the Finding Your North Autism Summit to empower organizations and to empower people to better support people and neurodivergent employees, families, communities, help individuals with autism, and to access critical services. So my work ensures that no community, regardless of location, is left behind because autism has no borders and AI has no borders. So
Wow, that is awesome and just admirable spreadsheet you have there. We appreciate all that your work that you put in on a personal level, a business level. Your journey, I can tell, has just been remarkable. So thank you for all your efforts that you put in, and I'm sure you've changed many lives along the way. So thank you.
thank you. You know,
Mhm.
I've always been a community person and
Mhm.
love my people. My parents are amazing. My father's a linguist and my mother's a nurse. So I'm a fusion of both of them. And as a
Mm.
poet, I take an arts-based approach to my work. So I was Canada's first slam poetry academic. And so when my book, what's important for me because, you have to understand, especially during slavery, you weren't allowed to speak your language or have your culture.
Right.
So that in itself created neurodivergence, right? Because we're masking who we are as everybody involved, whether it was the people who were the recipients of colonialism or the slavers, right? So there's a
That's
lot of
right.
masked identities and, we're it's really confusing, especially when you look at the history book and it's really inaccurate. And
That's right.
I'm really
That's right.
happy
We have
with your land acknowledgement. So for me, it's like English is my third language, and poetry has
mhm.
been my bridge to excellence. So I represented Canada at the largest poetry festival in the world, which is the Austin International Poetry Festival in Texas. I met a doctor named Byron Koshin, and he was one of the pioneers of ADHD in the US. And he invited
Mhm.
me to his clinic in Austin, and he was the doctor for President Johnson. So he taught me that it's not only about autism or ADHD, that autism is a neurotype And since, when people get diagnosed on the DSM-5, they get diagnosed for one neurotype, but most likely autism diagnoses come with ADHD. And he taught me how to use poetry in the arts to help people with cognitive behavioral therapy. Once upon a time, when teachers had trouble meeting their curricular links, they would call me from all over to help them teach curriculum with poetry. And
Wow.
so for me, so my background is also in high tech and finances. So I was an interactive multimedia specialist, 3 children, passing mark in my program was C plus. So what I did is that I converted my homework into poetry and I used mnemonics to retain information. And I transmitted that method to my son. My son was nonverbal and now he's a genealogist. So
Wow.
I basically I've been through the fire. His first word was James Brown. I live in a very soulful household and just want to be able to help other people. And I
That's
faced my
awesome.
own challenges. It wasn't easy.
Mhm.
And the Ottawa Business Journal recognized me as one of Canada's leaders in neuro inclusion.
That's amazing. Well, I think we've covered like, like if you were to just summarize like your personal mission and vision, like I think I have an idea already of what inspires you. But if you were to summarize, what would you say for that?
Well, for me, I don't know if you know, first of all, did you know that the leading cause of death for people who have autism is drowning?
Wow. Oh, I didn't know that.
And did you know that I would say they say 1 in 40 people have autism? About
Hmm.
5% of us have ADHD. Did you know this?
I can attest to the ADHD. I did not know about the autism one. I did not know.
Did you know that the province of Ontario in Canada has a wait list of over 60,000 families that are waiting for ADHD, for autism services?
Autism services.
60,000.
Wow.
So for me, it's like I want to expand the reach of the Finding Your North Star Autism Summit. I want to help people get swimming lessons. And the leading cause of death, did you know that the leading cause of death for families is a lack of financial literacy,
Hmm. I can attest to that for sure. Yes.
right? So I want to improve access to autism service for underserved communities. I want to promote neuroinclusion. I want to speak to people. I want to get into the media with podcasts. Like this year for me, it's been a year of learning. I'm still learning. I'm actually training in finances right now. And I want to use AI and technologies to address systemic iniquities because the summit was founded when a mother from North Carolina contacted me in Ottawa, Canada. She needed a laptop for her son who was nonverbal. With I was able to contact, you know, a university in North Carolina. I was able to get
Mhm.
a laptop. I was able to update the child's IEP by myself. I was able to fill a prescription for her daughter who had ADHD.
Wow.
So from Canada. So I don't know why there's such a wait list in Canada when from Canada I'm able to do global stuff.
Yes, yes, yes.
So
Wow. That's amazing. I mean, you're definitely changing lives and it's so important with stats like that, there's definitely an absolute urgency to really eradicate this for sure. So on the other side, like what challenges or barriers have you faced in your work and how have you overcome them?
well, my major barrier was that I didn't have a service provider like at all. I had to figure so first of all, my own family repudiated me. They didn't want me talk and they didn't want me talking about autism. There's so much stigma. So I had to embrace my authenticity, love myself, love my child, obviously, and just do what I had to do and learn what I had to learn and just go through the thing. So that was the first challenge. The community treated me very bad, like some people, and I didn't get the help I needed at the hospital. I remember when my son was diagnosed, they told me that I was going to kill myself and that they literally grabbed my child and tried to take my child away from me and told me that although my son has 2 older siblings, they said that I was an unfit mother and I wouldn't be able to raise a child of autism, although he had 2 older siblings. So it was like a plantation all over again. I had to take my child and really fight this, and just love my children and go through. It's really hard. It was really, really hard. Then there came a point where my child obviously like grew out of a lot of his idiosyncrasies. Then they denied me funding because they said that I did so well by myself that I don't need funding. So funding was a big issue. And yeah, so I didn't go to
Yeah.
any autism groups, or, I just basically integrated and immersed and just, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So that was really
Geez.
tough, really, really
It's
tough.
very, very traumatizing. It's just like, this ego mentality in society that, this construct that they've created themselves that is not a natural construct. They feel that that is the authoritative construct. We built it, you know, I am in power and I say so, and that's it, and not seeing the broader spectrum. And that's where a lot of retribution has to be taking place currently right now, because having those types of traumatic situations happening for unnecessary reasons, like you're saying, you have two children prior, so all of a sudden you are going to kill yourself and things like you see these for somebody who's supposed to be an authority in the medical field, say something like this is very dangerous, and that's what we have to totally annihilate out of our system for sure.
Well, this is an ongoing thing. And the things that people don't know their rights. So
Right.
when I found this out, the first thing I did was I learned what my rights were. And in Ontario,
Yes. Yes.
every child has the right to attend their neighborhood school until they're 21 years old. And people don't know that. So I went
Mm.
to the hospital, like I went to one of the places where they want to institutionalize my child. And I took a list of all of the specialists who work with autism. And I found out how to draft the IEP. And by law, they had 30 days to get all these people in because I had to go to work.
Right.
The other issue I had, and this is something for other parents, is that when I was at work, I used to work for the government, and the school, to punish me, called me on the hour. Oh, your child is da 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 da. So I couldn't concentrate, and I didn't know my rights to advocate for myself, right? Like,
Mm-hmm.
so luckily I was an artist, and that way I was able to be in control of my schedule and do, but I really took a hit financially. So right
Mm-hmm.
now I'm doing that, and I hope to help other parents and speak to the community, because unfortunately there are a lot of people, who look like me that are in the medical field or who are in political positions. And what you made a very good point about the construct, and
Mm-hmm.
the construct is like a cultural hegemony that they maintain, and they're hurting people who look like them to maintain the construct because they don't want to look bad, or they don't want to fit into the stigma when they do.
My goodness. So what are you working on currently? What are some of your key priorities at the moment?
Priorities for me is learning finances. So I'm actually studying to become a broker right now, which is so uncharacteristic because, if you know me or if you know my work, um, artist. So it's kind of like using both sides of my brain. I am left-handed, but it's so wild and I love it. So I want to, I am the change I want to see. So everything that I'm changing, I've actually been through it. I'm not just speaking like you should do this or you should do that. Like during the pandemic, my child, well, he got into university, and then during the pandemic, he wanted to change careers. So I was educated enough to help him graduate during times of uncertainty. And when you've met one person of autism, you've met one person of autism, because it's a spectrum. So you could be anywhere on the spectrum. And I think what we're doing here requires, and as you know, like, it requires an individualized approach. I was also trained by members of the US Military College in something called VUCA. Have you heard of VUCA? So VUCA, it's an acronym for volatility, uncertainty, complexity, and ambiguity. And it's a framework that helps leaders like yourself navigate and adapt rapidly to a changing and unpredictable environment. So in a way, I see things through crosshairs, and that's how I'm able to fix very complex situations. And I hope to help foster resilience. And I had to develop adaptive thinking to include this with my advocacy and my coaching efforts. So I coach families, I coach businesses, public speaking, and I just want to help people with the knowledge that I have. And success for me, I really want to have, like, I want to see a future where neurodivergent individuals and their caregivers have an equitable access to resources, support, and opportunities, regardless of their geographical or social economic barriers that they have. It's all about the fact that no family should face barriers or get a diagnosis and have a nurse or a doctor try to take your child away. This is still happening, and more so now because
Mm-hmm.
after the pandemic, I mean, everything is online. And there's also a technological divide where parents who are not necessarily technological savvy don't even know if their children know how to read or not because they don't have access to their teachers. So,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, my goodness, it's such an important service that you're giving, and this is definitely a representation of social impact because, like you're saying, a lot of parents don't know. Also, you taking the financial aspect to me makes sense because art is art. Art creates itself and blossoms in so many different forms and facets, doesn't it? So you taking the financial approach is also a necessary piece. Why? Because a lot of times money talks in certain constructs, doesn't it? So if somebody's looking for a transplant, if somebody's looking for some type of therapy, or somebody's looking for some type of healing, something, they will come up to the front of the line because whether the government wants to privatize the medical field, then money will talk at this point. Because if it's private, then it's going to be the higher, in the financial bracket to get first place. So you taking that financial approach is so important as well because you'll know the rights. And it doesn't matter what financial level a person is on. It's about the service that needs to be provided to all Canadians or people in that region. So it just makes sense to me, the flow that you're taking. So very good, very good. So the question I have is, how do you feel about the future of social impact in Canada?
I mean, I think it's really great. What my concern is, although I love where things are going, and although I think AI is phenomenal, in order to use AI is based on prompts. And in order to create a prompt, you have to have some level of literacy and some level of way to understanding kind of what you want to see. So, as you know, I don't know if you've heard of academic streaming, and academic streaming was made illegal in 2021, but it's still happening. So if there's academic streaming, and if AI needs prompts, and if parents don't know if their children know how to read or not, that's kind of like an issue, like addressing the backlog in services, right? So again, like, AI is phenomenal if you know how to use prompts and if you know how to input that information. I love it. Like, I have my certification in AI. And I
Nice.
think that, like, since I was able to use it, I was able to help families access services. The other issue is like being able to afford technology. So things like food, like there's also a food security issue and housing security issue, right? So we're just navigating so much. And when you have a child that's neurodivergent or has autism, that's so much. And I hope to, maybe in the future be able to have a global mobile crisis center to address these issues. But finances, like, you go into a bank and you see all these signs for RSPs or Lira and whatnot, and you don't know how to navigate that. It's all about equity. And unfortunately, people who look like me are also underserved in the banks during times of
Mhm.
uncertainty. And I want to be able to also help families navigate these things and navigate
Absolutely.
finances and understand, like, not just literacy when it comes to neuro inclusion, but finances and all that stuff.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It
Because
all ties in.
a
Mhm.
diagnosis like for autism is like about $2,000 just for the diagnosis.
Wow.
So if you could bypass the line, if you have the finances, then
Mm-hmm.
what you said
Mm-hmm.
is on the point, on point.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Wow. Remarkable. So what is your ultimate goal and what does success look like to you?
Success would look like finishing my course and getting my certifications. Success, I mean, it's basically like radical acceptance, radical self-acceptance, and just taking things day by day. Like for me, I've accomplished what I wanted to do, and I just want to be able to finish. I'm writing a book on this topic, so hopefully when it comes out, I can get your support to promote it. Would love to maybe like organize in the beginning of the year I started organizing like online sessions for parents, and I'd like to collaborate with you to organize more of that, because each one teach one reach one. I believe in that, and I want to get more, like just more output. But like halfway through the year I realized, I'm like, oh my god, I know so much, but I really need to go back to school to work on finances. And education, as they say, is the progressive discovery of our ignorance. And I don't know everything, and I'm always learning. Like I've been getting certifications this year, and I don't know, learning and being open to learn, because with AI, like the world is constantly changing.
Absolutely. I'm even one that's very interested in AI. We actually SETS even has an AI meeting that we keep every couple months. I'll make sure Victor sends you out the invite for it to get your input for sure. But even myself, I would love, I'm reaching out to small businesses and helping them with AI ads just to promote their businesses, globally, you know what I mean? And people that don't even know where to start. So me myself, so I'm very interested in getting certified also in AI. So after we're finished, you let me know where you got certified, and I'll definitely do the
Absolutely.
same. Yeah.
Yeah. Like it's it's kind of like I got the certification because unfortunately people like, are you when they see me and people are always questioning my credentials, and I'm like, boom, boom, boom. Although I personally didn't think I needed it, but I had it, and it just makes things easier. But yeah, absolutely. I mean,
Mhm.
I'd love to collaborate and just help. Like I want to help as many people
Right.
with this new onslaught of oh my god, but just navigating it.
Right. 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 Okay, great. So, listen, this has been remarkable. I'm so happy to have met you, and I know this won't be the last that we'll be coming together. Like I said, we have the AI meetings that we have, as well as other ones. So I know Victor will send out the invite. So my last question for you is: do you have any closing thoughts or calls to actions at this time?
Yeah, I mean, we're at a critical juncture where, technology, advocacy, and inclusion intersects to create a systemic change. So my call to action is for funders, policymakers, and organizations to prioritize neurodivergent autism voices in the decision-making processes. Supporting the Finding Your North Star Autism Summit, we're looking for funding to help scale and impact and reach more communities. There's over 60,000 families waiting for Autism Summit for autism services in Ontario. So I'm at your service. I'm the person to help you. I want to help humanity overcome this crisis. And together we can ensure that no one is left behind, because autism knows no borders, and neither should our support. So I want to thank you for this interview. And my website is findingyournorthstarautismsummit.com.
Fabulous, fabulous. Wow. So we thank you once again. We wish you nothing but success with your, nothing but health, good health for you and your family. Keep fighting the good fight. We're doing it for our generations, right? We're putting seeds in the ground, but in this work so that it can blossom for the next generation to carry it on. So thank you once again, Ingrid, and we'll definitely be in touch.
Thank
And
you,
we
Matt.
Oh, you're so
Much
welcome.
gratitude. Thank you very much for inviting me, and I commend you for your good work. And
Oh,
yeah,
thank you.
this
Thank
won't be
you.
your last conversation for
Oh,
sure.
not at all. Not at all. So we will close the way that we began by acknowledging the original stewards of the various lands that we are on. We also acknowledge our ancestors. We acknowledge all those who toiled without compassion or compensation. We acknowledge all the elders and community stalwarts whose shoulders we stand on as we build, share, learn together for our collective liberation and sovereignty. So Ingrid will be in touch. Thank you for everything and all the best.
You're welcome. All the best. Have a nice day.
You
Take
too.
care.